Hi, today I'm on the outskirts of Slewey Woods in Deeside in Aberdeenshire, and the plan is to walk deep into the ancient woods and camp at a place that's got a dark and sinister past. So I think I'll get my rucksack on and we'll get going. This is the Warlock stone, and this has been known as the Warlock stone for hundreds and hundreds of years. There are local folk tales about this place that go back well into the medieval period. The tales say that on a moonlit night, witches would congregate here to dance, party, cast spells, and generally do witchy things. It's also said that they were led by a powerful warlock called Colin Massey of Glendoy, and he was said to have lived for hundreds of years, and he often would turn up here in the form of a mountain hare. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I'm not into that supernatural mumbo jumbo, and I'm not particularly a fan of folklore. I like history. I like documented, researchable history, and the history of this place is far more dark and sinister than the whimsical folk tales would have you believe. I would like to tell you the history of the Warlock stone and the witches of Deeside. In 1563, Mary, Queen of Scots, passed the Scottish Witchcraft Act, which made it a capital offence to practice witchcraft or to associate with witches. It was the start of a witchcraft frenzy in Scotland that was already raging across the continent of Europe. Now, Mary's son, James, who later became the king, was obsessed with witches and would travel around the country and even to Europe, attending various witch trials as they occurred. He is reported to have personally supervised the torture of many women accused of witchcraft. He strongly believed that the social meeting of groups of women was a direct threat to his sovereignty. It seemed he was a full-on woman hater and believed it was his divine right to seek out and destroy witches. In 1597, King James wrote a book called Demonology. It detailed at length his fears and paranoia about the witchcraft he thought was all around him. King James instigated the first 2 of 5 countrywide great witch hunts. Aided by the newly formed Church of Scotland, the country was whipped up into a witch hysteria. The stories of witchly goings-on at the Warlock stone eventually made its way to the king's attention, and in the spring of 1597, the great witch hunt came to Deeside. In a village just along the road from the stone, an old woman called Margaret Clark was accused of witchcraft, and under extreme torture she gave up the names of 8 local women: Isabel Ritchie, Margaret Ogg, Isabel Ogg, Janet Lucas, Janet Davidson, Beatrice Robbie, Isabel Robbie and Helen Rodgie. The The 9 women were accused of witchcraft and taken to Aberdeen and imprisoned in St Mary's Chapel, where they were tortured to extract confessions. Now, the witch hunts across Scotland were led by the church, and many of the confessions were outlandish tales of summoning the devil and demon worship, which conveniently fitted with the new church's narrative. The reality is more evil, in my opinion. The church establishment did not like smart women, especially the ones that understood herbs and medicine and human or animal physiology. Basically, many of the women executed were healers, midwives and veterinarians, women with skills that the church feared and didn't think women should possess. Now, the new church had something to prove. There had been a recent switch to Protestantism in Scotland following the Scottish Reformation, and the new regime was going to stamp out anything they considered to be paganism. And herbalists with a love of old stone circles were right in their firing line. So what of the Deeside witches? Now, the 5 of the Deeside witches accused of dancing around the Warlock stone were executed by burning at the stake in April 1597. Janet Lucas, Janet Davidson and Beatrix Robbie were branded on the face and banished from Scotland, and there is no record of what happened to Isabel Robbie. From February 1596 to May 1597, Aberdeen City executed 22 women and 1 man by strangling and burning at the stake. They also branded and banished many other women. Now, we know from the original 16th century documents that were discovered by the Victorian Sporting Club of Aberdeen that the Burgh of Aberdeen submitted accounts amounting to £177, 17 shillings and 4 pence for the cost of the executions. The executioner, referred to as John Justice, in the accounts earned £10, 6 shillings and 8 pence for the executions, and a further £1, 6 shillings and 8 pence for the branding of banished witches. Now, the Witchcraft Act stayed on the Scottish statute until it was repealed in 1735 by the House of Lords. During the period of time the Witchcraft Act was law in Scotland, 3,837 people were formally accused of witchcraft, and 2,558 were believed to have been executed as witches. It's thought that thousands more were tortured and killed that were not formally recorded, as many small towns did not want to be known as a place where witches were. In 2022, the First Minister of Scotland offered a formal apology on International Women's Day for all of the women accused and convicted under the Witchcraft Act, but she stopped short of issuing a legal pardon and overturning the criminal prosecutions. Now, a campaign group called Remembering the Accused Witches of Scotland additionally secured an apology from the Church of Scotland for its role in the persecutions. Today, in 2025, a legal group known as the Witches of Scotland is still fighting to secure a legal pardon for all the people convicted under the Witchcraft Act in Scotland. Their fight continues. Well, I hope you found that history interesting. Certainly not Scotland's finest hour. I think it's amazing that many people will have heard of the Salem witch trials in the USA, which resulted in the execution of 19 people for witchcraft, but have probably not heard of the possibly thousands of people who were executed in Scotland during its witch trial period. Yeah, a dark and very interesting bit of history. Well, I think it's time I got camp set up. I had initially planned on camping here on 2 trees right next to the stones, but it's dawned on me that it's a very popular place. I'm right next to a track, and I've also just found a geocache at the bottom of one of the stones, which makes me think it could get quite busy later on this evening. So I am going to go over the other side of the track, and just down in the dip, I'm going to find a couple of trees to pitch my hammock in, and hopefully I'll be just out of sight and I'll be out of the direct wind because it is getting quite windy here. So let's go and find somewhere to camp. Well, that's me finally set up, and it took me 2 or 3 attempts to find a spot I was happy with. I actually found a really good spot deep into the woods, but it was totally out of the wind, and it was hoaching with midges and black fly. You can tell there's a lot of deer in this forest, and with deer come the black flies, and there's a lot of black flies in that forest. So I needed to be kind of on the edge. So I got a little bit of a breeze to keep the flies away. So I think I found a spot. The track is not far behind me. It's just on that kind of ridge line there. So I'll spin the camera around and I'll show you my setup. So there we go. It's the same setup I always have. One wind zipper hammock, one tigress under quilt, which probably don't need tonight. My tarp, my 3x3. I swithered about bringing the 3.5 by 3.5, and in hindsight I probably should have done. But there you go. And it's quite open here, so I'm right on the edge of the forest. Forest gets thicker there. Yeah, so the idea being, let me get the sun out, there we go. Idea being I'm on the edge of the forest, so there's a bit of a breeze coming through and it'll help keep the midges at bay a little bit. I can't have a fire. I'm in the Cairngorm National Park, or certainly I'm on the edge of the Cairngorm National Park, and there's currently a ban on fires because there's been a lot of wildfires. So if you're camping in the Cairngorms, you're not allowed to have an open fire. And I'm not going to, but I bought a thermocell with me as well, so if it gets really bad for midges, I'll fire that up. But the little breeze that I've got should keep them at bay. Now I think it's time for tea or dinner, depending on where you're from, and I'll show you what I'm having tonight. So what I am having for dinner tonight is a fresh kimchi, ramen noodles sort of thing. So what I've got, so it's not a dehydrated one, slightly different. So I've got some Sun-Hee fresh ramen noodles. We'll get that in there. And these are the ones you have to boil for, what does it say? Blah, blah, blah. Of course it doesn't tell me. Oh, it does. Boiling water for 1 minute. And what I've actually done is I've bought some Spam, cut into little battens, with some fresh kimchi, some fresh gochujang, and some fresh spring onions. And I actually prepared that at home. I'll show you a little picture there of what I put in it. There we go. And I bought it in a little cool bag, and that's it there. So bright orange, fresh kimchi, gochujang, Spam, and spring onions. And the intention is I'll boil up the water in my little pot, pour it into the stainless steel with the noodles, simmer it for a minute till they're soft, then drain them off, pop them in a little pop-up bowl I've got with me, and then stick that in the pan, give it a bit of a sizzle to get a bit of heat into that, and then put the noodles back in, stir it up, and then nosh it down. So I'll get that set up, I'll bring it back when they're boiling, because you don't need to watch me bringing water up to the boil. So I'll bring it back when we've got something going on. Okay, so that's me ready to eat, and I shall hold it up to the camera. I've given it a good dosing with sesame seeds. So that's fresh kimchi and gochujang, Spam ramen noodles with sesame. I am really looking forward to eating that. So I'll just put that down there for a minute and I'll show you what I'm having with it. So I've got more of that Japanese soda, and I've got a artificial grape flavoured. So that looks like that's going to be perfect for going with my fresh Korean noodles. So we'll put that there. Pop this out, because I should be able to open this like an old pro now. And, oh man, he says that. There we go. Oh man. That tastes like really American grape soda. That tastes fantastic. Damn, man, bro. So that is going to go down very well. Let's not knock that over with this. So I'm going to have a quick fork of this while it's still warm. Wow. Fresh kimchi. And there is proper pieces of kimchi in there. Look. Oh, that's proper kimchi hinky. That's wonderful. So I'm going to nosh this down, drink my grape soda, and I'll come back to you when I've had my dinner. So I'll see you in a bit. Oh. Well, that's the noodles done, and they were really nice. That fresh kimchi gives a really good taste, and with the hit of a bit of gochujang in there and the nice soft fresh noodles, it made for a really good dish. I will definitely be doing that again. And yes, spam, you can't miss, you just can't beat it. Sorry, Steve, but you know, spam's the stuff. And I clean down. I like to keep a kind of tidy camp. If you get a visit from somebody and your camp's got all your cooking gear lying around and rubbish looking, you know, sitting about, even if you're planning on taking it out when you're finished, they don't know that. They just assume you're a messy camper. So I tend to clean down as I go and keep everything packed away in my bag. And if I do get a visit, then at least I kind of look orderly, and hopefully that kind of helps kind of calm down any issues if anybody challenges me. But now it's time for a cup of tea and some chalky biscuits because, well, why wouldn't you? And because the wind has dropped and it's quite a warm evening, the bugs have come out. There's a lot of flies out, and I'm pretty certain as we start to lose the light, the midges will come out. So I've got the thermocell up and running. I've had one of these for years, and they're actually very effective. If there's no wind, they're good at keeping the midges from around you. So that's going to be running until I go to bed. I'm going to enjoy my tea, I'm going to watch the sundown, and I'll see you when it's time for bed. So I'll see you in a bit. It's 9:30 and I've decided to get into the hammock because it is swarming with midges and flies outside. So bug net to the rescue. I thought I'd get in. It's going to be dark in about an hour maybe. So I'm going to sit and listen to my book, I think, and chill out. It's a beautiful evening. It's still very bright. It's amazing that it's this bright at 9:30 at night, and very soon we're going to get those nights where it's pretty much not going dark. You know, kind of come to midsummer this far north and we hardly get any night, which is great. So I'm going to just chill, listen to the forest maybe, and then listen to my book for a bit and just nod off when the need takes me. And I'll see you all in the morning and I'll let you know how I get on. Well, good morning everyone. Yes, as you can see, I had to put my bug net on in the night. I think when I got in my hammock, there was a swarm of midges outside, and just a handful managed to get in before I zipped it up. And about an hour into my time in here, they started to bite me, and it takes a handful, so on with the bug net. But I think I managed to get away with not getting too bitten. There's still a few, I can actually still see them in here. But it was a good night's sleep, and I slept without a break really. It was good and comfy. And about an hour ago it started to rain. It's 6 o'clock now. It started raining about 5 o'clock. And it's not heavy rain, just a light downpour. But it's still going, but it's eased up a bit now. So I think I'm going to get up, strike camp, and get back to the van. And I think I'll get my breakfast back at the van. So this is just a case of getting up
and getting everything away without getting eaten by the midges and get myself on the road. So I think what I'll do is I'll strike camp and I'll see you back at base for a wash up. So I'll see you in a bit.
Well, that's me back home, and all in all, a very relaxing camp. Now, you probably saw in the video, as the wind dropped, the infamous Highland Scottish midge started to swarm, and because I didn't have the option of getting a nice smoky fire going to kind of keep them at bay, I didn't have a lot of choice other than to get inside my bug net, inside my hammock. And well, it was no hardship. I lay there listening to the cuckoos in the forest and all the birds singing away while I watched the sun go down. All in all, a very relaxing night. Now, there is one story that I forgot to mention about the Warlock stone. There's a local tale that says that after the witch trials in Aberdeen, the king instructed locals to break the stone in half. He thought it was a witch's altar and he wanted the stone split so it couldn't be used for that. Well, yeah, as you saw in the video, the stone is in fact in two parts, but I can't find any evidence to suggest that it was actually instructed by the king, and it could easily be down to weather and time, but it's still a plausible folktale, so I thought I'd tell you that one. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, if you could leave me a thumbs up and a comment, it would be great. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, if you consider clicking the button just down there, it would really help the channel grow, and it helps me get seen by all the magical algorithms and things and get the word spread to more people. So that would be really good. So thank you for that. So until the next one, I'll say goodbye. Ta-da!